Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life.
Hats.
Brendo, how are you?
I am well.
That sounded very. I am well. I am on the podcast, man.
Well. I'm trying to be more professional.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh,
yes.
Sorry. Are we friends again?
We are. We are friends. Do we want to talk about it? Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Come on, let's air our dirty laundry.
Is it worthy of talking about, or is it? No,
okay,
really.
Why not? Let's do it.
You just got me in a bit of a mood yesterday.
I must have. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, you ditched your kid with me and then left her for days, and never told me when you were coming to pick her up.
No, so yeah. Oh, look. Yeah, it's my bad. It's my bad.
It's all good. You apologize. We're friends again.
Yeah.
Your daughter's very, very welcome. You're not.
No, I know.
Anyway. We have a guest.
That didn't explain the situation at all.
Did it not?
Anyway, no. I'm in the wrong.
It's all right. You accepted it and you've moved on.
Had 6. Yeah. Had.
But this is it, right? We can. There is a more serious point here, right? But you can have we're sort of living in this world where you can't have a disagreement anymore. You have to take one side and just scream at the people on the other side, and there's no discussion happening anywhere at all anymore. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a little bit of a disagreement.
Yes,
smile, joke, and move on.
But that I think that's why I count you as a friend, because I feel comfortable fucking giving you shit, you give me shit, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, the DMs are pretty nasty.
Yeah, they can be.
Anyway,
you intolerant cunt.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
We have a guest.
We do have a guest.
So let's not leave him sitting here for any longer. Aaron, you reached out on Twitter and just asked if we wanted to have a chat, and I was like, sure, we'll have a chat. And then you gave me a whole bunch of stuff that you're involved in. Do you want to give people a little bit of a sort of headlines of what you're involved in, and then we'll just dive into each of them individually a bit more deeply if we can.
Headlines and hairlines.
Oh, you're giving it away.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, he's bored.
Yes. Good morning, gents, or good evening, gents. England calling.
Here are the results of the Essex jury.
Oh, mate, I was on a Twitter Spaces last week, and it did descend into a version of Eurovision, which was quite funny at the time. Yes, no, I'm Aaron of Essex. I'm on Twitter, BTC Essex. I run and host monthly meetups in the British county of Essex, which, for obviously, as I know, you're a worldwide facing audience. Essex is literally the county right next door to London. So we're about 30. So yeah, when people ask you, if you know the Queen, she only lives about 30 miles away. Or not the Queen anymore, is it? Obviously, it's the King.
I was going to say, is that where the hole is? Where's the hole? Sorry, can we say that? Sorry.
It's about 30 miles away. So yeah, Essex is like kind of southeast, and I'm going to do my public service announcement. There is a weather warning in east of England this weekend. People, don't go outside. You may die.
How hot are they expecting it to get?
23 degrees.
Are they actually saying that?
That's true, yeah.
Headlines.
Headlines, mate. Metro, go and check out Metro UK newspaper today on Twitter. It was screaming it, weather warning. Obviously to you Aussies, or you climatized jocks over there in Australia. I mean, it's got to be laughable, all this stuff, right?
I mean, when the Scottish guys laugh, it's funny, yeah, because we're not exactly famous for getting hot up there, but
yeah.
But what is that? Like, let's just talk about that. Why is that even happening? Is this like clickbait? Is it trying to cover cover up a bigger news story? Like, what is happening with the newspapers there?
It's going to be relativity, surely.
It's just farming, isn't it? It's click farming, right? Everyone, I mean, it's a British pastime, isn't it? Talking about the weather, right? So how are you going to get people? 2 weeks ago, it was all about, or 2 months ago, it was all about, coldest winter of all time, the beast from the east. Like literally every week, it's a tap in, isn't it? Talking about the weather in extreme terms is, for the newspapers, must be an absolute tap in to get thousands of people clicking on your website, right?
Well, I suppose. Yeah, I guess you must be right because here we are talking about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's we're sucked in like everyone else.
I have lunch with my dad every day at work, right? So because he lives just up the road from my work, and without fail, every lunchtime we're both on the bureau, the bomb,
looking up
and the weather, just going, oh yeah, Tuesday's looking all right. And, better gonna have to mow the lawn before Friday.
Is that what you say? Is that...
Oh, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, you having lunch every day. You run out of shit to talk about.
True. We're just pretty simple creatures.
Mm.
And the weather's weather's probably non-threatening as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good day, isn't it? Oh, terrible day.
Well, I think there's a learning there, isn't there, for us Bitcoiners? I think there is a learning there because I think we need to, weather is what we've all got in common, right? Oh, how hot is it over there? How cold was it today? It's generally comes up in the first conversation piece whenever you see anyone, especially over the park walking the dog. I mean, the irony is I've taken the dog over the park to walk this morning, and I mean, you guys can see me, but in podcast land, I'm in a bomber jacket. I'm freezing. I'm sat in the house freezing. Do you know what I mean? We even had the heating on last week, and it's June, and these clowns are trying to tell us that climate change is going to destroy us all. But that's another thing, isn't it? The Bitcoin fixes. No, the learn is I think we've all got weather in common, we've all got money in common, and I think that's probably why I've lost a few clients over the years, going straight into the hard talk of money. Do you know what I mean? I've been in Bitcoin since like 2017. Yeah.
So talking about the weather and talking about clients, why do those two things come together?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been a hairdresser for 20 plus years, and before I was a hairdresser, I used to work in the city in the 90s. So took part in the whole growth of the internet through like the late 90s. But I had a complete, career 180 when I left the city, working in finance, to become a hairdresser. And I suppose, mental health and all that is quite it's quite fashionable or trendy to talk about now as well. It was because, every morning that alarm going off, you just have the dread feeling that, got to go into the office. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of my friends at the time were all hairdressers, and they were successful hairdressers in the UK, and they bounced out of bed every morning, mate. They could not wait to go to work. And as an impressionable teenager at the time, I was like, I want some of that. Do you know what I mean? I want that feeling of, let's get out of bed, let's bounce into work, and let's have a great day. Do you know what I mean? And it was 2000 that I literally gave up a potentially, 20 plus year career in finance and computers, and to join the degenerate world of hairdressing, should we say?
Any regrets?
No, none at all, mate. None at all. No, I met my wife at one of the first shows that I went to. She gate crashed the party. I opened the door. It was a sliding doors moment, and been married 20 years, got 2 teenage kids. And no regrets. It's hairdressing has taken me all over the world, mate. I've been lucky to do all the supermodels, A-list, Hollywood, do all of that over the last 20 years. So, very blessed to have made that decision, but also to have worked hard in the first 5-6 years of my career, literally earning nothing to establish yourself. Do you know what I mean? To get behind the scenes of hairdressing, behind the camera on the big sets, on music videos, doing all that stuff, which was normal, which was de rigueur, 20 years ago. There was work every day in that kind of stuff. Now, 20 years after that, there's not the budgets around anymore to be doing that stuff. There has been a shift in the financial economy, but it's been a perfect storm of technology and fiat, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? There's been a shift. So yeah, whereas we would go abroad and do London, Paris, Milan fashion weeks, and you would work really hard, really intensely for weeks at a time. It was my first introduction into how the accountants are scamming everybody. Do you know what I mean? Because hairdressers, makeup artists, people in the creative fields, they generally tend not to really understand economics too much. This is where my financial background made me different in the space.
Right.
So when you're going from being paid in pounds, so then they're like, we're going to start paying you in euros. And then they start paying you the same amount in dollars, US dollars. You're like, hang on, this is shrinkflation. Like the numbers are the same, but after conversions and after they're taking their commissions, I'm getting less every year. So I'm working harder, doing more shows, more hours, and I'm earning less.
And they reckon that people just aren't going to understand, and it's going to slide on by, or they're not going to be strong enough to say anything back, or what like it's just a grip.
I think it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. First of all, it's they're not going to understand. They're not going to understand the fact that, you know, this is just the rate. And then there's the fear of, oh, well, if I say anything, they may not book me again.
Yeah,
I may lose that position on the team or backstage, or, you know.
But hang on, you don't get to that level straight away. So you've got this city job. You're going to work on the tube, and you're getting paid well, but your nose is in somebody's armpit, and you're like, this is enough for me. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to be a hairdresser. And you got friends that are hairdressers, so you have connections. But you don't go straight. You know, what do you do? Like you go training, or you go to hire a chair in a salon, or what? How does that start? Like, how do you even make that transition?
Well, like I say, I was lucky to have plenty of contacts in the industry. So I went grassroots level, mate. Apprentice. You know, I was probably 20, 21. I was on the verge of getting a mortgage as well. And yeah, I went straight into 60-hour weeks at £90 a week, sweeping floors, washing hair.
Yep.
You know, making tea. And being a 21-year-old in that environment, all your assistant colleagues, they're all 16. Do you know what I mean? They're all 15, 16, just left school.
Yep.
But yeah, it was really hard, and it's really hard to get into the industry. And I can talk about how Tony Blair completely destroyed British hairdressing. British hairdressing used to have this reputation of, you know, being top of the world. Do you know what I mean? British hairdressers were doing all the #1 fashion shows. British hairdressers were doing all the A-list celebs. Do you know what I mean? Everywhere. You would see them on the circuit. And then in 1997, Labour brought in minimum wage. And for example, when I was an assistant at a famous salon back in the day, you may remember it, but it was called Stafford's. Lee was actually the resident This Morning hairdresser throughout the 90s with Richard and Judy.
Right. Yep.
Anyway,
like,
that's
no idea.
We're talking Sunrise or something, right? Something like that.
Like a morning,
morning telly, yeah.
Morning telly, exactly, yeah. And yeah, he basically he took me under his wing, and yeah, gave me the opportunity to do that. But yeah, going back to the Tony Blair thing, when they came in, they immediately brought in minimum wage. So at the salon I was working at, there was probably about 10 to 15 hairstylists, and the assistants, there was probably about 10 to 15 assistants as well. You know, it was well known in the areas of #1 hair salon to go. Once you got experience there, you know, you could walk into any job in the UK, basically. Do you know what I mean? Because they were up there. But what happened was minimum wage came in. All of a sudden, they didn't have the budgets to have 10 to 15 hairdressers, because on minimum wage, the assistants are earning more than some of the hairdressers. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
In that scenario. So straight away, 50% of the assistants get fired, and they have to go to centralized colleges. So all of a sudden, they become, you know, paid employees. and they're now a drain on the system, and they're then going into a centralized college network, which isn't fit for purpose, which doesn't teach well enough for these assistants to then go on and get long careers in the hair game. So me being somebody that obviously understood a little bit about finance, it just never sat well with me. You know, I could see it bleeding. I could see the whole, but being in that industry, you try and talk to your colleagues about it. It's, you know, it falls on deaf ears, all that stuff, you know?
Yep. So essentially what's happening there is like you're like we're talking, it's kind of talking about like that's what minimum wage is really. It's just essentially a subsidy. It's preventing the free market from operating and doing what the free market will do. And eventually, like it's a kind of like I don't know, the car industry in Geelong, or because they're just subsidizing an industry. Well, when it's something overseas is getting made for far less money. So eventually you just become totally uncompetitive and making a worse product. So maybe, see, I mean, I would probably come from I'd have been pro that in a previous life, but like now I'm sort of looking at it and going, well, hang on, if you mess with the free market, you're just going to get all these, the intention may be great. And the intention, like, let's give them some benefit of the doubt, right? The tension might be really good, but the unintended consequences are awful. And this is just an example, like a real life example of unintended consequences that were awful for at least half of the people who were working there at the time.
See, I don't think I've never really thought about that like that, because like you've got minimum wage people that are working hard in some shitty menial job that can barely pay their bills. You know what I mean? Like
I too, but it's kind of like, is there, and this is the question, I'm not saying one way is right or the other way is right. I'm just saying, is there, if you're in a really shitty job and getting paid not enough to sustain your way of life or the way of life that you'd like to have, maybe you should just go find another job or go or try and retrain yourself and go, like, leave a good job and go retrain yourself and put the hard yards in to get a job that pays better. Yeah. And it is like, so it's like, whose responsibility? Is it the individual's responsibility
okay,
to look after themselves, or is it the state's responsibility to
look
look after the individual, right? And if once you go down the state route, we kind of, this is where we've got to, because we've really gone, in the Western world, we've gone down the state route. Is you agreeing with that, Aaron, or?
What you said, is kind of perfect. It is the free market being prevented from basically making those calculations which benefit everybody. So now you've got 5 people which now don't have a career in the industry because they was taught badly. You now have, and it's about incentive as well, isn't it? You know, when I'm an assistant on £95 a week doing 60 hours a week, I am busting a gut to get qualified as quick as I can.
Right. Because yes,
and this is the key. So the assistants now, and I was working in the salon 3 years ago. The assistants are permanent assistants, so they're 3, 4, 5 years, and they're earning more than some of the stylists in there that are, you know, coming in for maybe 1 or 2 days a week to cut clients' hair. So it's all about incentives, and because it skews the incentives, like you say. The intention's great. If you're doing a menial job, if you're cleaning toilets or whatever, absolutely pay minimum wage. But when they bring that whole brush in and they go, right, apprentices 16, 17, 18, they're all on £5 an hour. Do you know what I mean? When they bring in these sliding scales and they make more rules, because now they've got to make a rule for this category and a rule for that category and a rule for this. I mean, I've tried to articulate it in a way that has taken me throughout the industry. You know, I was a consultant for City and Guilds, doing all the education. I've worked for the global brands. I've done trade shows all over the world. But like I say, it falls on deaf ears because people in my industry, you know, we've sleptwalked into all of these changes and we've swallowed them up whole. And it's fundamentally, it's the top 10% of the industry which have kind of been blindsided by all these, and they've just adopted them. And now, 20 years later, after lockdown, after COVID, they're all struggling and they're all asking their prison guards for help. And please be a bit nicer to us. We can't afford to operate anymore. So what I'm trying to get across is that I've been in an industry for 20 years that fiat has sucked the life out of it. It's, it's been that road to the bottom. And it's, essentially it's perpetuated by inflation, it's perpetuated by fiat, it's perpetuated by government money printing. So I've physically seen it and in my industry. And like I say, you try and tell people about it, they're not bothered. They move on. They don't care.
Did you kind of flag these issues before you actually found Bitcoin? Or was it Bitcoin that sort of illuminated?
No, it was Bitcoin that gave me the suit of armor to be able to do it. In 2020, when lockdown happened, I must have wrote something like 100 blogs on my website, which talks about all industry stuff. And I even started a podcast called Salonomics with a friend of mine who was a high net worth individual hairdresser in London, used to work in Mayfair for like 30 years. So you can imagine his clientele was, lawyers, aristocrats, Russian millionaires, etc. And we had quite a good foil. But Bitcoin since 2017 really opened my eyes up, and it just explained to me, that's what's happened to my industry for the last 20 years.
It's given you clarity, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It gave me the clarity, and it gave me the suit of armor to be able to talk about it. Because if people in my industry don't like what I'm talking about, who cares? Do you know what I mean? I can still continue to operate in a very decentralized and freelance fashion that no one can affect, my industry. So yeah, it's powerful.
Talk to us about that then. Talk about what you're doing today in terms of how you're operating your business and how that differs from maybe how your industry operates.
Yeah. So basically I run a company. I set up a company in 2019 with a developer friend of mine, and it's called gosalon.uk. And essentially the problem we set out to solve was why don't people buy shampoos and conditioners from their hairdressers anymore? Now, I don't know if off the bat, I mean, maybe I'll straw poll you. Do you buy shampoo and conditioner, you two? I can see you both got lovely heads of hair.
I was actually going to ask you who's got the better hair.
You've got the
you're
better
wearing
hair.
a hat.
I think Brendo, I think your hair's more difficult to cut.
It is.
It's a lot thicker.
How do
lot
you
thicker, isn't
You've
it?
got a bloody hat on. How
Well,
do you
that's
know
pretty
that?
impressive, right? Hang on.
It is difficult.
No,
to
he flashed it earlier. Flashed it earlier.
Wow.
Yeah. Your hair's your hair's a bit more like mine. So yeah.
All right.
Doddle.
Do you prefer a Brendo challenge or a hats challenge, or like a hats walk through?
Well, this is the irony, mate. I was complaining to my clients about this the other day. All of my clients have got really thick hair. Like everyone comes to me because I give them a proper haircut that lasts them a few months. I'm not a fiat hairdresser that wants you back every week.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? And this is part of the problem that Bitcoin opens your eyes to. It's like you want to provide value for people. You don't want to be ripping them off.
Did you get? Did you get a haircut especially for this? You look like you've had a bit of a haircut.
No, I normally...
Did you care about what you looked at on this podcast? You know what's happening.
I haven't had one for a few weeks.
All right, sorry, get back. It's
but anyway, going back to your question. No, I don't. I don't use conditioner. I use whatever shampoo is in the shower that my wife buys.
That your wife buys, yeah.
Yeah. I have a product that I will buy from a barber every now and then. When I need it. But yeah, no.
Beard oil, anything like that?
No, I don't do beard oil.
No.
I probably should.
No.
I am a shampoo and conditioner man.
Do you?
So tell me.
Have your own? Don't touch it. This is my one.
No, definitely not. But I don't mind if other people use it. But I don't know. I don't actually know.
Do you pick your own though? Do you pick it or just?
Yeah, I know what. Yeah, do you want to know what shampoo I have?
Yeah, go on.
It's Pantene Pro V something.
Oh yeah, or not? Yeah. I'm going to advance hair.
Mate, that's all I've got. That's all I can tell you. I've got no knowledge here at all.
So as a hair,
it will happen.
Say again.
So as a hairdresser, I would tell you that's the worst product you should be using on your hair. You've got finer hair. Pantene's full of silicone. It's just going to create build-up on your hair and yada, 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 yada.
Free advice. Yay!
This is brilliant. That's the nicest way anybody's said to me. You look like shit, chap.
Well, look, like I say, it's about managing expectations. My job.
Go on, then. I want the free consultancy. I want to know what I should be doing. What should I be doing? Let's go for it. Hang on, I'll take the hat back off.
Well, there you go, mate. I mean, yeah, you do need to have a little bit of a trim up in order to make it, appear thicker than what it is. So you do need to have. I mean, obviously, the hat doesn't help in this scenario.
No, it doesn't.
You can use hats to set your hair in a specific way. So, like when you get your shampoo on your hair in the morning, then you let it dry. It's always rubbish, isn't it? Your hair's rubbish for at least a day.
Yeah,
where it doesn't.
It feels. Do
you like that?
Yeah,
you can't style it, can you? So that's when a hat comes in handy. Especially if you've got thick hair, you can whack your hair under a hat and it will compress it for you. So
maybe I don't like hats. Maybe I don't like hats. I thought I loved hats. Maybe I just hate my hair.
That's what it is.
Well, I hate you.
That's what it is.
Well, everybody. I mean, not everybody hates my hair. It's okay. All right.
So straight away, you buying Pantene. You're buying it from your supermarket.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, and obviously that's where the mass produced, mass market stuff goes. It's a couple of quid. And as a Bitcoiner, I've got to let you know the false economy that is, because as a shampoo, and if you're not, one of these guys that, shampoos their chest hair and just moves the soap suds up to their scalp, do you know what I mean? You're using the same product. Men can get away with it because generally our hair's a bit shorter, right? So we can get away with it. Women, on the other hand, can't necessarily. So it's unique. So you've bought yours from a supermarket. You pay no consideration to it. You're probably just looking at that bottle on the shelf and just going, yeah, that does a nice big bottle, got, go faster stripes on it. Do
you know what I do? Do you know what I tell you? I tell you exactly what I do.
Go on.
I've got my eyesight's not great. Like I wear a glass all the time, but in the shower, so my eyesight's not good. So I bought the one where it has a gold. There's two Pantenes. I've got
Pantene. We say Pantene.
Pantene. Well, I don't know what it's called. Right, there's a gold. One has a gold lid and one has a white lid, and the one with the gold lid is the shampoo, and I can tell the color, so I know that's first. Right.
Well, as long as you're not reaching for Veet.
What am I looking for? No,
Veet.
No.
You have Veet over there. Yeah. That's like a hair removal cream thing that the women use for like.
Veet. You know nothing.
No.
Yeah.
We are being exposed massively.
So you imagine you're blind and you're in the shower and you reach in for the Veet, right?
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not going to be good. But so you buying yours from the supermarket, it's part of a weekly shop.
Yeah.
Brendo, you occasionally buy from the barbers. Occasionally.
No,
and this is the
not
problem.
Shampoo, just product. I've
the styling product.
Never bought shampoo in my life.
Yeah, that's the women's. The women generally go out and buy, and then the husband generally just uses, like you say, whatever's in the shower at the time.
I often will use a bar of soap.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe not the best, but like I say, I think you can get away with it. You got a thick, manly, virile head of hair on you.
The clip.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of masculinity being signaled in that hairstyle of yours, mate, which is good.
So
that's masculine. I would never have.
Alpha.
You're the alpha. We're both the non-alpha.
Good genes. Must be some good genes in there. So
Right.
So yeah, essentially, so the problem is, so we did a bit of research and we found out that this is the same all over the UK. You know, you ask your client, you'll be doing the client's hair and they'll be Googling the product you're using on them. Mm. So products in the salon generally are about 40% more expensive than online. Now, all the product companies for years, for at least 10 to 15 years, have said, oh, you know, we don't sell our products on the internet. You know, we can't police the internet. If someone's selling them on there, you know, it's nothing to do with us. honest, gov. You know, they're like honest, nothing to do with us. In fact, we're spending millions a year fighting these companies to stop them selling our products.
Yeah.
Well, you've only got to look at that statement and just go, that's ridiculous. You're selling your products to someone and you're then taking them to court to stop them selling your products. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So it's just something that the big product companies have said for years to appease the industry, while slowly they've been rugging them and selling all their products via Amazon, eBay, third-party distributors. So back in the day when I started hairdressing, selling products was...
This is the real vision of hairdressing, is what we're talking about.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is something that, like I say, it doesn't get discussed in the industry because there's too many fiat jobs depending on, you know, keeping it going, keeping the scheme going, you know. So basically what we decided to do, okay, well, so if eight out of 10 of our clients would say, oh yeah, we would buy products from you, from the salon, but if they were closer to the price of the internet. Because if you know as a hairdresser, I can sell this product to you today, but you're going to have to pay 40% more for it from me today. When I know that you can go to Amazon and buy the same product 40% less, I don't feel comfortable with that. It feels like I'm ripping you off. Do you know what I mean? What, just to get my little 5% commission and to give the government 20% VAT and, you know, to essentially make the cost of that product more for my client. Anyway, so that was the problem that we knew existed, but no one was interested in my industry in solving this problem. So with my friend who's a developer with Bitcoin, I'm going to show you what Bitcoin opened my eyes to was the power of the QR code. So we developed a way to connect a hairdresser's physical space with an online distributor so that if the client wanted to buy the product, they wouldn't necessarily need to buy it from there and then because you've just done their hair, but they can certainly scan that code, but make the transaction online, pay the internet price, get sent to their home the next day, but that hairdresser is getting a kickback for introducing that client to the correct product for their hair.
That's so clever. What you've done essentially is you've just removed almost all the barriers between customer and product. They just take out their phone, they turn on the camera, they scan a QR code, and they are where you want them to be.
And they're rewarding their hairdresser for the advice. You know, it's almost, and they're paying the same price as if they go through that link or don't go through that link. So it's a win for the hairdresser. It's a win for the client. And dare I say, it's actually a win for the product company as well, because they would get more signal rather than like overproducing, you know, their products and just throwing them out there. You would get a much better signal back of, oh, what product's worthwhile, what product's good, you know, rather than just creating tens of thousands of products and then just throwing them out to the third-party distributors to sell them for nicks. Do you know what I mean? So that's all we did, you know. So it was Bitcoin plus my, you know, previous life in finances and computers. It was all of these passions that, you know, kind of molded together. And I'm like, there's something in here. I can do something. I can do something for my industry, which has obviously given me back so much. It fit my ethics and my principles about grassroots. You know, I want to be rewarding the grassroots level up, because the amount of people that I was consulting for, that was like, oh, you want to go to Sassoon, and you want to get this into Tony and Guy, and you want to get this into Trevor Sorb, you know, all the big name hairdressers. And I'm like, no, that's exactly what I don't want to do. I want to start freelance home salons, bottom up.
Yep.
You know, give them back a little bit more revenue.
Yep.
And the plan was always to solve a problem, build the trust, build products that they could use, create that value, and then switch on Bitcoin withdrawals.
So you mentioned that on your DM. So customer goes and scans a QR code, buys a product, but I assume that at this stage we're not talking about Bitcoin at all. They're buying that product with fiat. right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is you're then converting back end and issuing back to your client in Bitcoin if
Yeah.
they choose to. Is that right?
If they choose to. Absolutely.
Got you.
Absolutely. So it's quite a simple funnel. It's solve a problem first, build the trust, build the tools, and then introduce them to this new technology. And so our roadmap has been, since we developed the first prototype in 2019, for me, the whole principle was, I want to build a Bitcoin company. I do. Do you know what I mean? But how do I solve a problem in my industry first that will work, that will gain trust, that people will value, and then down the line, once Bitcoin evolves and develops and matures and more people start to understand, issues such as inflation and things like that, then press a switch and enable Bitcoin withdrawals. And then the hairdressers can then go down that rabbit hole of, this is really easy. This is really simple. Maybe I should start taking Bitcoin for haircuts.
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And
you're the Trojan horse, right?
Yeah.
Precisely.
And not in a negative way. It's in a really positive way for them. Like, it's not like you're trying to
optionality.
Yeah, that's it. You're making the option available and then just letting people see for themselves. And so where are you in terms of the switching it on and in terms of the reception you've had from your customers?
Yeah, so the reception I've had has been fairly negative, to be honest. In terms of 95% of our users rejected it immediately, because I put an Instagram post out there, put a poll out on a newsletter, and it was the option. It was, would you like to accept your payments in Bitcoin or straight to your bank account? It was an A and B test. And 90%, it's no, bank account, please. Bank account, please. And of course, that's normal, right? 90% of probably my audience are, women from the age of 25 up to about 50. Do you know what I mean? So, of course, their only knowledge of Bitcoin is probably their son or their teenager dabbles. And do you know what I mean? They probably lost money on XRP and they're kind of putting
it's all the same,
it's all the same. But this is where it gets interesting. So we only switched on withdrawals the beginning of this year, and the few users that have taken their withdrawals out in Bitcoin have obviously made 65%.
Right. Because that timing's wonderful, actually.
Yeah. So this is a word of mouth thing. So you've got to think, as these hairdressers are talking about this stuff they're doing 10 clients a day, they're just passing the virtues of, I've seen it work in real life. This is how I use it. And it's been great for me. So, dismiss what they're saying on, the BBC about how it's boiling the oceans and
you're like you got Superman, then Bizarro Superman. Bizarro Superman's the opposite. He's not that you're evil, but the opposite of Superman, right? So, as a Bitcoiner that goes for a haircut, and I think most Bitcoiners that go for a haircut will try to orange pill their hairdresser or their barber and say, will you take payment in Bitcoin? You're doing the opposite.
Exactly. My thesis has been people need to see it with their own eyes, right? They need to see it working in a real circular economy. And as a hairdresser myself, and I offer this to all my clients, I'm like, if you pay me in Bitcoin, I give you a discount.
No.
And
that sort of becomes interesting too, because let's say you got five. That was going to be my next question. Do these people have a clue how to spend Bitcoin, or are they just holding Bitcoin and they're noticing that it's gone up quite a lot because they're checking the price now? But if you're also giving them an opportunity to spend it back with you, and it's gone up, and you're giving them a discount, they feel like they're double dipping. They're getting the benefit on both sides. They're loving that, right?
I mean, look at probably our folks used to do it all the time. Oh, will you give me a discount if I pay in cash?
Yep. Yeah.
And you would do that to your, any tradesman, plumber. You'd even do that in shops back in the day. Oh, can I give you a tenner for cash? It comes to like £10, like 50. Oh, you can take my card if you want, but they know intrinsically they're paying a 3% fee. I'll take tenner for cash. Do you know what I mean? So I see Bitcoin as treading that similar path, and this is about raising awareness. I do it on all my invoices now as well. Right at the bottom of my invoices, I also accept Bitcoin, and if you send me your payment in Bitcoin, 3% discount.
Yeah.
So somebody's looking at that going, shit, yeah, I can make a 3% saving. I really don't want to buy. I really don't want to own Bitcoin. I don't like it, but I don't even have to hold. I can just buy some, pay my bill, save 3%, and then that is the touch point, right? That then all of a sudden you go, well, I'm now looking at it. I'm now following a little bit. I follow news stories, and eventually some people find their way to working it out.
But you know what?
Precisely.
But people don't. I don't think people natively think like that until there's like really hard times, which we're going to hit. You know, when everyone's kind of scrounging and thinking, how can I save? Pardon me. You know, how can I kind of save $1?
Yes. Well, we were talking to, we had Samson. Our last pod that will have gone out before this one goes out, was Samson Mountain. What Samson was saying was, I was talking about the sort of SatsPacks programs, and I love them. I think they're great. But he was sort of agreeing, but he's thinking he doesn't think that's going to be the big moment. He thinks the big moment is going to be necessity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you're absolutely right. Once people start to really, really feel the pinch,
because people haven't felt it for 10, 12, 13 years, you know.
And also we're in this Australian bubble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, your UK bubble is worse than our Australian bubble right now, in the sense that your inflation has been running hotter than our inflation for 18 months now. So you're much, and I've obviously still got family back over there. So, I hear these stories and I hear how people are talking about it, hear about them talking about their fuel bill, and these sorts of things. And it's really important. So once people are genuinely starting looking around for savings, if the bottom of your invoice says you can save 3%, somebody's going to be interested at some point.
Yeah. And it's the same with a haircut as well. I can give someone a 20% discount for their haircut in Bitcoin. It's like, oh, okay, so they might not do it on day one, but they'll be aware of it. And then they might come in and say, all right, well, I'm up for that. How do I do that? And then, right, okay, well, you can buy your Bitcoin from here. Once you've got the app on your phone, you can just pay me in the Bitcoin and then press 2 buttons in your phone to basically replace it. Because then obviously it opens up other avenues. But hey, I thought you said you've got to hold your Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, of course. But as long as you replace it immediately, you're not going to be missing out. And if you're saving 20% on a £50 haircut, do you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So yeah, you're right. I'm creating a Trojan horse for the industry powered by Bitcoin.
So good.
So good.
And people just need to get clever, right? Because people need to go, okay, well, I imagine the vast majority of people listening to this podcast don't know much about hairdressing, right? But they may be small business owners, and they might be going, well, hang on a second, I can do that. I can do that in my industry. Like what? Like just pick one. Pick one. We could probably work out, and you could probably work out if you just sat there for 5 minutes and gone, okay, well, there's an opportunity there for that industry. Like,
yeah, precise. I would recommend everybody to really look into what their industry's doing, what those pain points are, and see what part of that Bitcoin can fix. And, put some energy as a side hustle into really fixing that, because, there's loads of people out there. Oh, how do I get a Bitcoin job? I want to, and the influencer space is so saturated with influencers, and it was a joy for me to discover your podcast the other month, because it was the first podcast I'd listened to for months. I actually learned something, and I'd learned something in real life.
Which one was that? Which fucking month was that?
I refuse to believe this.
You was talking to the guys from New Zealand.
Oh, they were good.
Oh, yeah.
And they shared a way of, we go into any venue, and regardless whether they accept Bitcoin or not, we just set up a static URL, and, people can pay Bitcoin. Yeah. So I'll show you this on the thing. So I created this the other day, static URL. We had our Bitcoin Essex meetup 2 nights ago at Curry House. And yeah, a couple of the guys, they use this to pay in Bitcoin for their curry. Other people in the group were paying in cash to the curry house.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they've got, non-KYC sats that can then get redistributed. We've got a few million sats in this wallet. Does anyone want to buy any Bitcoin while you're here? So there's a peer-to-peer trading element. And it all starts on that social layer of actually going out and just trying these things, having a bit of banter, having a beer, having a curry. And it's these little real life scenarios, because everyone in the curry house is overlooking what we're talking about, because we're not talking about Philip Schofield, we're not talking about any of that stuff. We're talking about, oh, this would be good if you could do this. Oh, what happened the other day with lightning, and so there's all these things. So I'm very active in the Bitcoin Essex space. So if anyone wants to join our Telegram, we've got a Telegram group, t.me/Bitcoin Essex. That will get you into the resource group, because I built this group in 2018, and for me, Telegram was a really nice way of posting links to articles. So as I was learning my way through the space, what's a blockchain? What's a difficulty adjustment? What's a CBDC? I'm putting all of these articles, I'm getting all my education from people like Andreas, even Richard Hart. Richard Hart back in the day was a Bitcoin. He was a toxic Bitcoin maximalist. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't know that. So I heard somebody else say that recently, and I didn't realize he was something better than what he is now.
So is Nick.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. So Richard Hart, Safe Dean, obviously, Tone Vase. And I felt that it was so important for my journey that I stumbled on maximalists immediately, because it insulated me from all the shitcoinery. It insulated me from all of that waste of time. At the time, you had these big YouTubers, Ivan on Tech. I mean, I know you got BitBoy and all these idiots now, that are shilling everything that moves. But yeah, at the time, it was like Ivan on Tech, and, you had the block size wars. You had Roger Ver, crying, John Carvalho. There's the famous meme of he was Bcash. I don't know if you guys remember that from that era.
I was right. I wasn't.
John Carvalho.
I don't remember the meme.
Was it Bcash?
No, John Carvalho had Roger Ver on his podcast.
Oh yeah,
and John was basically triggering him. He just kept calling him Bcash throughout the whole thing, and eventually. Roger Ver was, he was doing that, weren't he? And it went viral.
Is that where that comes from? I didn't know what that was. Yeah. That's cool. All right, I'm gonna have to go look that up. Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
I have more respect for John Carvalho now.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, John. Like I say, John's one of these high principled maximalists that takes no prisoners, and these guys have got such a wealth of knowledge because they've been through the Bitcoin wars. Do you know what I mean? They've got the scar tissue. From it, and that was so funny, that period, because obviously Roger Ver insisted on calling it Bitcoin Cash because he wanted to trick everyone into his chain, into his hard fork. So it's Bitcoin Cash, and obviously all the Bitcoiners like just online trashing them, just calling it Bcash. Like I say, I fun times. But yeah, going back to the Telegram group. So I started curating this entire list, and it goes back to 2018 of all of this stuff that I learned, and I just started creating it. And it wasn't until lockdown, until I'll give a shout out for Moles, who's got a fantastic podcast called One Minding.
Whoa. No podcast. No, I'm kidding. What was it? Say it again.
It's One Minding, and it's like a mental health podcast. He teaches the three principles, and it's a revolutionary way of removing your ego from your anxiety and depression. It's fascinating. You boys should check it out. It's really cool.
We could do it.
Yeah. It's a very kind of like stoic way of dealing with your internal like dialogue, I suppose. But it's great. So she reached out to me during lockdown, and because everyone was getting shadow banned on Facebook, and I noticed like all of a sudden millions of people were going from Facebook to Telegram. All these Telegram groups are opening up, and I'm noticing on Facebook, oh, I'm leaving Facebook. You know, you can't talk on this platform anymore. And everyone started going to Telegram, which I thought was great because that's where I'd been curating all my content for like, you know, the previous 2 years. So all of a sudden, I've got a whole new network joining, and there was all these great reopening groups that were happening, you know, around all the, you know, the high street retailers and stuff, because they were all obviously all getting rug pulled by the lockdowns. Do you know what I mean? All the big supermarkets, the big stores are allowed to remain open, but you know, mum and pop stores weren't.
Yeah,
all the little guys were just getting wrecked. So yeah, it didn't take too long before I put hi everyone. I think you're going to need to learn about Bitcoin in order to shield you from the upcoming health communism we're all about to face. You know, and so it slowly started building from there, really. And Mole's come into the group. She was like, we should, once lockdown finishes, we should start meetups. And that's where we started the meetups, and we've been doing it. I mean, it's a bit of a poison. It's a bit of a poison chalice because our first meetup was literally right at the top, December 2021. It was our first meetup where we was physically allowed to get back in the pub again after 2 years of essentially, yeah.
And was that top roundabout then? Was it? I forget what the price was.
Yeah, November 21, and we're actually at Murrah when it started to die. So we had a Bitcoin bushbash.
We were at meetup too, yeah, true.
Where we all sat in the like a church, literally a church for this meetup. And then I still remember like coming out for a break, morning tea or lunch or something, and everyone's outside going, "Fucking Bitcoin's going down." Oh, it's still going down, but we were excited.
Oh, the whole room was, there was
like, we're just stacking.
I don't know who was, somebody was giving a presentation. Nobody was paying attention. We're all just on the phone trying to stack, and then like a bunch of idiots. But yeah, right, okay. So
yeah, so that's no. So basically, that's the whole story of how Bitcoin Essex come to pass. You know, the Twitter, Telegram, and yeah, we've been doing this for about 18 odd months or so. And yeah, I mean, some months we have 15 people turn up. Some months, you know, we have 7 or 8. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we do a pub, sometimes we do a curry house. Do you know what I mean? We try and it's community. I think fundamentally it's community. Do you know what I mean? I think Bitcoin is a lot easier to navigate in real life with real people that are sharing stories about their onboarding. Oh, I did this, I went there, I downloaded this wallet. Do you know what I mean? I think it's much easier to get a message onto people that, you know, this is really cool, you know, see it in real life how it works, rather than endless podcasts or endless YouTube videos that go over someone's head technically, because they don't necessarily take the viewer or the consumer of that information into account. So I think it's important to become a maximalist or be exposed to a maximalist on day one. That is important because it saves you from a whole world of grief and time wasting. And then, the second thing is, you know, obviously dismiss mainstream media's takes on
the world,
you know,
not just Bitcoin,
on anything,
everything,
on anything, but obviously, especially this world-changing, principled, ethical technology improvement.
Can I just very quickly, can I drill down on something? So, if there is somebody in the Essex area in England who is thinking, oh, I've been reading some things, but they're concerned, right? Because they're like, they feel like they don't have a great amount of knowledge, and they're like, well, I'm not going to go along to a Bitcoin meetup because these guys clearly know what they're talking about, and I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to look stupid. How are they going to be? How will they be welcomed in that group? Like, if they come in with genuine, I just want to ask questions, guys.
Generally, it doesn't matter if they're a shitcoiner as well. You know, that's part of our process. You know, it's like, how do you know? Like, what was your route in? Do you know what I mean? Did you just go on Coinbase one day? It was advertised and you clicked it and you thought about buying Bitcoin, but you found this other coin that was only a fraction of a penny. You know, it's that unit bias. And the unit bias was a big thing in 2017, 2018, because of course, why would you want to buy 0.00001 of a Bitcoin when you can buy a whole Litecoin? You know, so yeah, we welcome everyone. But most people just they find us on Twitter. Bitcoin events are doing a pretty good job in retweeting all the meetups around the UK. The Bridge to Bitcoin guys as well. They're all heavily involved in their Telegram groups, but it's quite difficult. It's futile. Like you type in Bitcoin Essex, then hopefully, or Bitcoin in Essex, hopefully Google will whack my website up the top. You know, or certainly will point them to the Facebook page that I've set up, you know, or the Twitter page that I've set up. And all these places are set up to funnel them into our Telegram group, which will, you know, they can come in and say, hello, comment on one of the posts that I've put in the learning resource. They can comment on one of the posts. And obviously there's an instruction at the top. If you want to join the chat group, you know, reach out to someone, because we like to verify everybody in the chat group as well. So,
cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways of doing it, but like I say, it's about geolocation, isn't it? So if you're a Bitcoiner in the middle of nowhere, just buy your domain of the town, Bitcoin and your town, or Bitcoin and your county. Just buy that, put it on Google, funnel it to all of your social medias and stuff like that, because there's nothing better than meeting Bitcoiners in real life. It saves so much time.
Yeah,
100% agree. I love doing this podcast, but there's nothing better than going along to the Bitcoin Live conference or the Bush Bash. It's great. And I was literally thinking about it today. With our first one was 3.5 years ago or something. And I was just
2020,
2020 was it?
Yeah.
And I was just genuinely thinking about how grateful I was that it just there's somebody, two guys got together, put a tweet out there, and we just took it upon ourselves to go.
Yeah,
I'm just incredibly grateful for that.
So good.
So that's the meetup. If somebody is in your industry and is interested in the kind of the angle you're taking there with Bitcoin, or wants to ask some questions, where would they contact you there, Aaron?
Yeah, totally. So that's gosalon.uk is our website. Obviously, we cover all the Instagram. It's all Go Salon. You can, I mean, like I say, I've not really found anybody in hairdressing that's talking about Bitcoin, but they're talking about inflation. They're talking about their wages going down. And that's the angle that you start. It's all about solving people's problems and incentivizing them and make a change, which will solve that problem. But yeah, gosalon.uk. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well, Go Salon. And that's how you sign up if you're a hairdresser. And this is the other powerful thing, every family has somebody that's either a hairdresser, a barber, a makeup artist. Every family has one. So if every family's got a Bitcoiner in it, I suggest the Bitcoiner in the family reach out to their creative person in their family. Every town has a salon, hairdressers, barbers. This is how we get adoption. You get it grassroots up. You get us all under the radar, doing our little bits, just doing our incrementally every day. And like I say, not everybody is going to be, this is amazing. 90% of people are going to fob you off, but it's just honing your skill set of, listening to people and understanding what their angle is, Yep.
Meet them where they are.
Yeah, totally.
That's it. One last final question from me. What should I do with this hair?
Shave it off,
mate. I think you've got potential there. Oof. I mean, you've got potential, but like I say, it's probably been styled by your hat for too long. It's really well hidden. That's it. Yeah, you need to love what you are. You need to accept what nature's given you, and you need to embrace it. You need to embrace it.
Yeah.
So, I can't really give much more advice on a Zoom call.
Bloody nature,
how many
bloody nature and truth, right?
tens of thousands of kilometers away.
Oh yeah, right. Beautiful, Brendo.
But no, Brendo, your hairline looks good, mate. There'd be no need to visit the old hair replacement therapies anytime soon for you, mate. So you're all good.
What a great spot to end it.
Oh yeah, great. No, mate, I really appreciate that. It was brilliant.
That was good fun.
I would never, I was going to say a year ago, never a month ago, but I thought we'd be having this conversation. But here we are, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, and I think if people can take it and land it in their own industry and do what they need to do with it. And we just need millions of people like you just all around the world doing the similar thing, mate. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thanks, buddy.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good to see you guys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. All the best.